sunny spaces, smiling faces, happy places. But every sunny space holds a shadow. Behind every smile are sharp teeth. And every happy place has something sinister lurking just below the surface.
Welcome to We Saw the Devil, the podcast diving deep into the chilling realms of true crime. Join your host Robin as she unravels mysteries that have left investigators baffled and armchair sleuths obsessed. Be forewarned, dear listener. We Saw the Devil is not for the faint of heart. Our unflinching exploration will take you to the darkest corners of the psyche and through the unimaginable depths of human darkness to unearth stark secrets to the harsh light of day. Nothing will be left untouched. Are you ready? Are you sure? We saw the devil.
Hello, everyone. You are listening to We Saw the Devil. This is Robin. I am here with part 9 of the Chris Chan saga. Last week, we discussed that all charges have been dropped against him. Well, in the last 48 hours or so, footage has surfaced of Chris Chan's car, and we know this because he always has the license plate of Sonichu, is back at his home, the family home, Sonichu temple, as it were, that he shared with Barb. Also, it has come out that the last time that Barb was seen was just 10 days ago in that very home. So for those of you keeping track, what this potentially means, again, this is completely unconfirmed, is that Chris admitted to sexually assaulting, aka raping, his own elderly mother, who, by all accounts, has pretty moderate to severe dementia. He admits to this multiple times on a recorded call with a quote-unquote gal pal. He is arrested and held in jail, where he admits to having sex with his mother multiple more times. He is then released. All charges against him are dropped. He is now back out in society, and he was last seen at the home that he shared with said mother, the victim. That is where we are right now with Chris Chan in 2023. He's also been talking to some of his old internet friends, so Chris is actually trying to relaunch, I guess, Sonichu, return to the internet at least. It's a lot. I started covering Chris Chan not only because I remember it from my early internet days. Apologies for my voice, guys. I have a little bit of a cold, so apologies for any voice stuff today. You know, I chose to do this series on Chris Chan because I saw him trending on Twitter when he was originally released from jail. And I was like, oh, wow. It was kind of incredulous to see that headline, much less Chris Chan trending on Twitter. And so I was like, okay, well, this could be really interesting. And I bet the demographic that this show typically, has probably isn't familiar with Chris Chan as a whole, even though it was a complete just internet, just viral thing years ago. So I started covering Chris Chan. Chris Chan was released from jail, and then all of this additional stuff is starting to happen, and it's starting to cycle again. I'm scared to even wonder where we are going to be in the next month or so. But the conversations surrounding Chris Chan on Twitter and social media as a whole lately have been really super interesting. As I mentioned in the previous episode, it's a bunch of people who are just now discovering Chris Chan for the first time. A lot of people are finding sympathy with Chris Chan and saying this is solely due to the trolls and the trolling, and ultimately all of the trolls should be held responsible for Chris's behavior. Whereas I really personally do not agree with that in full 100%. It's led to some pretty heated arguments on Twitter. I think a lot of people are just like, how are we back here again? We left off in the last episode with Chris admitting to Alec Leary, the author of the Asperchu comic, that he believes cartoon characters are sentient beings. Chris was having frequent arguments with Alec, and he believed that Sonichu had millions of fans worldwide, that at least 80% of which had left Sonichu in favor of Asperchu. So Chris was really, really upset, thinking that someone had come in, done kind of like a parody of his work, and stolen like 80% of his fans. In one such call with Alec, Alec confronts Chris about his feelings on gay people. He asks him why he believes that fewer gays would result in the world being a better place. Chris replies, well, it's fewer people to go to hell. Alec then asks him about his Christian beliefs and asks him where in the Bible it says that gays are condemned. And Chris had no comeback to that. He knew that he had lost that argument, so he began to wildly mash buttons on the phone in order to make Alec think that they'd gotten disconnected. And this one makes me laugh so freaking hard, so I'm just going to have to play the clip for you because this is like something I would have done as a child.
Yeah, well, they're old. I have to do chores for them. I have to do chores for them around the house. I clean the big kitchen. I vacuum. I move stuff around. I clean the bathroom as well. I do a lot of things around the house.
You kind of sound like you're talking to someone who has not seen that video tour of your house right now. And I want to let you know that I actually have seen it. So I'm pretty sure that house is not. Chris, can you hear me? Hello.
On February 23rd, Chris releases a video where he basically gives the end speech from the Alien movie Independence Day, you know, the one with Will Smith. And it's clear that there's someone else in the room holding the camera for him, which is a huge departure from Chris's normal videos. Also, the video isn't shot in Chris's room. It's shot in another room in a house. And in the speech, Chris changes up the words a bit and declares that his birthday should be known as a national holiday, a day for all Sonichu fans. It would be called Christian Love Day. And yes, he was deathly serious about that. Unfortunately, not everyone finds his birthdays as holy as he does, because on his birthday, he was contacted by a troll named Surfshack Tito. And Surfshack Tito will be playing a minor role in this saga. Now, a handful of Chris's previous videos were in fact shot by someone else. There's a video of Chris on his outings with Kim Wilson and others. There's a random guy in those videos. There's a video where Chris is walking around downtown Charlottesville, talking about different places. There was even a video of Chris where he spoke normally, like you and I spoke normally and said, yeah, this has all been a huge joke. I have a 40-hour-a-week job and I have my own place. I've just been trolling you. That was clearly shot and edited by someone else. But on Chris's birthday this year, 2010, February 24th, another video was uploaded. And it shows Chris, quote unquote, making a concoction, so he says. He's stirring a drink and then he changes into a tall, blonde-haired, skinny dude before changing back into himself. And that's the first time anyone other than Barb or Bob have been seen in Chris Chandler's room. No matter how hard the entirety of the internet tried, no one could get into Chris's room, a troll, a friend, no one. And no one could identify the guy either. So he picked up the name Magic Man. And there was another video that leaked of this unknown man who's filming, and he and Chris are sitting in Chris's bedroom, and Chris is going through his PlayStation menu options, showing Magic Man how to change the background. And he's like, yeah, there's some, pretty women on here you can choose too. And you guys have seen those backgrounds of random things, even just computer, even when you're talking computer desktop background, you can find the hot women, like Playboy model type crap. So Chris is going through the women and he picks one of Dita Von Teese and Magic Man's like, she's really pretty. That's Dita. And Chris was like, yeah. The Magic Man is actually filming this video. The camera's kept on the TV, but then it slowly starts to kind of pan around the room. I think he probably utilized Chris being so focused on the PlayStation to do this, but the camera starts slowly panning around the room, showing all of the stuff that's on the walls, on the tables, and it really kind of painted a picture. I mean, if this is a bedroom. When Chris was drawing, I believe it was for Blanca, when Chris drew a comic for Blanca showing their wedding, and they're up in their honeymoon suite after their wedding, and there are all these things on the wall, and Blanca was like, what is this? What are all these things? And he's, oh, they're all air fresheners. We need at least 6. That's how many it takes in my bedroom for it not to smell. So I guess that was the level of dedication that this quote unquote Magic Man had in going to Chris Chan's room. Keep in mind, Chris masturbated basically all day long. He would defecate in his jeans and just throw them off into the corner or sit in it all day. Years worth of dirty dishes with rotting food. And that's just Chris's bedroom. The rest of the house was even worse than that. So can't fathom that. But that's how sick trolls were in trying to get into Chris's inner sanctum of Sonichu Temple. The month of February also entailed Chris attempting to make date plans with the Wallflower, that unnamed girl that he met in real life through the church. Now, leaked emails showed that Chris was coming on way too strong. And by the end of February, she was already telling Chris that she just wanted to be friends and to basically back off. You're making me uncomfortable. Chris began to focus on the Sonichu comics and ended up publishing issue 21, where he dabbled in vaccine and cure research. Now, in this particular comic, the storyline revolves around researchers who are looking for a cure for homosexuality, because of course they are. In order to synthesize and produce the cure for homosexuality, they need a single drop of, you guessed it, pure, straight, heterosexual man blood. And guess who the candidate was? Guess who was patient zero? Chris. So Chris was the only candidate in the world. He then battled it out with the evil gay villain and then defeated him by taking out a syringe of the gay cure and stabbing him, thus ending his reign of gay terror. Chris then travels to Alec Leary's house, sticks his finger into a USB port on Alec Leary's computer, and deletes everything related to Asperchu. On March 1st, 2010, Bob Chandler, Chris's dad, was hospitalized for congestive heart failure. Did Chris use his platform to discuss his father, announce that as a life event like he did everything else, exhibit worry for his health? No, he used it to upload 2 videos. One of him groveling and apologizing to Alec Leary for what he did in the comic, and another one confronting the Surf Shack Tito for hacking his PSN account. Also at this time, Chris published a custom level for Little Big Planet, something that he had been working on for a few months since he had met the Wallflower. In the notes, he credited her with her established and well-known username. And it did not take long for trolls to use the power of Google to find her true identity. Multiple trolls sent her links to the quickie, and she was able to read all about Chris's exploits, including semen recycling, the sports bras, being too handsy, and borderline sexually assaulting other women that he's met in real life. Also, all of the videos that he uploaded of him with his sex doll. She saw all of it. The trolls filled her in on all of it. This girl immediately emailed Chris and told him that she did not want to be friends with him. She wanted nothing to do with him. Now, mind you, the Wallflower was never interested in Chris. All of the emails between them leaked. She put up very firm boundaries and said, no, 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 no. Chris even kept trying to say, we're going on a date. And she would be like, no, we're not. Chris actually finagled his way over to her house and would go visit her multiple times a week at her family's house. But after this, she was like, fuck off. She told him to leave her alone. She blocked him on all platforms. So Chris then decided to go on a massive campaign to win her back. He uploaded multiple videos to YouTube, again divulging her well-known pen name all over the internet. One of these videos is sincerely disturbing. This is Chris making a video for the Wallflower, upset that she's no longer talking to him. Take a listen to this.
This message goes out to Damien Antaria, her pen name, not revealing her real name, all things considered. You know something? You don't need that new boyfriend, because I need you. We were very compatible. We had so much in common. I don't see why you had to go and do that. I mean, you weren't even ready for a boyfriend. You told me so yourself multiple times. Expected that for a little while. But you know what? This puts to mind a little something that I have put together before. He's an imposter. He's a poser. What the hells were you thinking with that damn pickle suit? Come on, Damien and Daria, give me a break. You know what? I don't want to be back in this situation where I'm that desperate that I got go as far as to pay $100 for a damn hooker. Give me a break! I'm a 28-year-old high-functioning autistic virgin. I'm in a hell of my own. Come on, please. Please. I've been so very worried about you. I've had heartaches since last Wednesday. I've had sleepless nights. It really hurts. Heartaches hurt. Think about that.
The tone of his voice is interesting in this one. He's actually getting angry at times. And I love that he says that he's going to be forced to go buy a $100 hooker due to her lack of interest in him. Again, the word that keeps coming to mind with Chris is predatory. And this may be a bit confusing. So, apparently, the wallflower was receiving a bunch of calls at her job, like at her real work. Also at her family's house. She got fully doxxed by 4chan, Cyclopedia Dramatica, basically everyone. She ended up writing Chris a series of livid emails demanding that he, quote, leave her the fuck alone. You know, she made it again very clear that she wanted nothing to do with him. And Chris said, look, I'm not the one calling. I haven't called you. I'm not the one calling. It must be trolls calling you. And that actually was the most likely. Not knowing what to believe to be true because she, realized Chris Chan is just one big megaload of mental illness and lack of social skills. She played into Chris's delusion in order to make him mad enough to leave her alone. So, because Chris divulged all of the troll stuff that he was enduring and going through, she picked the troll du jour, who was Surf Shack Tito. And she told Chris that her boyfriend was Surf Shack Tito, the anonymous troll who had recently hacked Chris's PlayStation Network account. I mean, I can't say as though I blame her with doing that in order to get out of that situation. She didn't even do anything with Chris. She never went out with him. She wasn't even super trying to actively befriend him. Simply because Chris mentioned and plastered her pen name, which she had asked and had Chris promise never to do, hundreds of people began to search for her and then harassed her in real life. And kids, this is why I tell everyone, and I told everyone in the last episode, not to talk to Chris Chan now that he's back out of jail. Chris might not even be the worst of your problems. Anyone who enters the Chris Chan gladiatorial arena gets absolutely tormented in their real life by trolls. And y'all, we know how the internet works. It's a terrifying, lawless hellscape. Is it better than it was, say, back in the early 2000s when a lot of the stuff happened with Chris Chan? No, and I would actually argue that it's in fact worse in a lot of ways. In any case, Chris did believe the wallflower that Tito was her boyfriend. So he in turn began to send Tito hateful emails, threatening him with bodily harm. Not only that, but he calls Tito the N-word 3 separate times. Sit, spin, and shut the fuck up, N-word. I will call you that right to your face. And dude, you are not her boyfriend. Back the fuck off, you goddamn trollin' stupid N-word. And I'm actually going to play this third video. And y'all, I'm not going to bleep out the usage of the N-word. If this is something you do not want to hear, please fast forward roughly 1 minute or so. But this is directly from the mouth of Chris.
You stay away from you son of a bitch. You have no right taking her from me like that, you womanizing rapist. And if you go near her again, and I will find you. I will find you. I will cut you up. I'll beat you up. I'll knock you on your backside, stand on your gut like a log roller, and roll your fat right through your skull. Rolling it wide open. Because that's what you deserve, you goddamn womanizing, raping, trolling, stupid, pickle-suited nigger. And don't you dare contact me in my email again, or contact me ever. You stay away from me in contact. Don't call me. I will find you.
It's just so beyond disgusting. And the more you learn about Bob Chandler and how he talks and whatnot, if you recall in the previous episode, trolls called the Chandler household and they were asking for Chris. And out of nowhere, Bob Chandler was like, "Get your black ass off this phone." And he didn't know what race the person was. Again, Bob Chandler was a horribly bigoted individual. And so it's very clear to see where Chris got a lot of these beliefs from. So then there was the Quickie. Now, Jack Thaddeus, the troll who had domain ownership of the Quickie, was so disturbed and put off by Chris's racist language that he basically said, "Nope, I'm out," and he gave everything up and washed his hands. He gave the Quickie to the 4 guys who ran Asperpedia, Chris's arch nemesis site. So as soon as they gained access to the site, they began to alter pages that Chris had written. They changed responses in the mailbag pages. They replied to new ones as Chris. They were ridiculous. And of course, everything was done to insinuate that Chris is gay. They then opened the Quickie to the general public. With 4chan and internet trolls, they were just unleashed on the Quickie. It went to hell in a handbasket pretty quickly. And after Chris discovered it, he couldn't take it anymore and made a video proclaiming that he was going to disappear and take a break from the internet so that trolls couldn't intrude on his life anymore. And if you were hoping for Chris to somehow have a random lucid moment, self-realization, just self-awareness as a whole, some deeper understanding of the situation at hand, you're going to be sorely disappointed. He uploaded his next video on March 22nd, just 36 hours after his promise of going offline for a period of time. His big return video? Complaining about the female voice artist in an episode of The Cleveland Show. The next video was one in which he yells, "Fuck abstinence," lamenting that it shouldn't be taught in schools, Basically, according to Chris, he more or less is pretty much owed sex due to merely existing. And when you tell kids to be abstinent before marriage, that means that he can't get laid, in particular, because Chris doesn't care about anybody else. So at this point, Chris is blaming abstinence education on the fact that he has not yet had sex with a human being. And also from here, we're moving from kind of like the classical core Chris Chan era with Liquid Chris, Blue Spike, Panda Halo, Emily, Julie, the beginnings of Clyde Cash, all of that stuff. That's more considered the classical, like, core Chris Chan period where a lot of the really dark stuff started to happen. We're moving into the Dark Ages. And the Dark Ages more or less begins in April of 2010, with Chris not being quite as present online as he generally is. And during this time frame, we have a handful of new sagas to discuss, and Chris's behavior becomes darker and darker and more concerning, violent even. This is also when Chris really begins to embrace his feminine side, and you can tell that there are some changes brewing there as well. In early April, Chris created a brand new OkCupid profile, and he also placed an ad on the Hook Cafe, which was an online personal site connected to the local alternative newspaper in Charlottesville, Virginia. And of course, trolls discovered both of those listings. His Hook Cafe profile used the username of Direct to Sex. The picture was of Chris in a white t-shirt with the sleeves ripped off, with a blue jean vest and a red baseball hat. The bio says, "I am an honest, compassionate gentleman with a good sense of humor. I am looking for good times with a woman. I'm not getting any younger. I would like a 21 through 28-year-old woman with a pretty face, a sexy, slim to average body, and an honest and compassionate personality. Show me your honest and sweet interest in love, and I'll show you a good time. Hit me up with an email with your photo and digits, and I will respond quickly in suit. Smokers, overweights, blacks, and liars need not apply." Quote a line from your favorite movie. He says supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. He says, "I'm an open-minded person, but smokers is the deal breaker. The question, design your ideal mate, the brain of a college graduate and the body of a Playboy woman." He says that people say his face is his best feature. The quickest way to his heart is sweet compassion. The quickest way to his bed is honest lovin'. And in the morning, I like my eggs cooked, fried, and well done. His favorite cartoon as a kid was Sonic the Hedgehog, and Golden Corral is his favorite restaurant. He also prefers summer over winter, PC over Mac, casket over cremation, and email over fax. Average, muscular, height and weight proportionate. And he was looking for friends with benefits, some action, or casual dating. So again, not very love questy of him, is it? He's looking for very, very temporary sex-based interactions with women. He says in his ad that his left eye is blue, his right eye is green, claims his height is 5'10", that his political leanings is moderate, and that he wants children but does not have any. He claims that he's a conscious omnivore, and that the funniest thing he's ever seen, a man chasing a dog, and the dog has a ham in its mouth. So again, y'all, it's very clear that Chris is looking for some sex and not necessarily fully invested in a love quest. And you know what? To each their own. That is completely fine. That Chris Chan, at this point, a 28-year-old adult, is more than welcome to find himself some friends with benefits. And yes, my friends, this is where the Jackie saga begins. So Chris had decided to try to stay off the internet as much as he could and look for love locally. Well, in April, he did connect to a cute redhead named Jackie who goes to a nearby university. They begin to exchange emails, and in the very second email, Chris asks her if she has any STDs, so you know it must be serious. Day 3, Chris has sent her novels about his history of autism, as well as this message. Hi, Jackie. I've copied your pic and I am using it as the wallpaper on my PSP. It's rotated, so I have to rotate my PSP to see you upright. May I have some more pics of you, please? I'm thinking one that would be perfect is a photo of you relaxing on your bed, reading your book, so then it can be like I'm chilling with you. Also, I like your hairstyle and its color. It looks natural. Now, guys, I think you and I both know that this would be a big red flag for pretty much any woman in the world. Imagine meeting some guy off of Tinder or Bumble, and he's like, I just took your profile picture and set it as my desktop background after knowing them for 3 days online, not even having a phone call. I mean, Jackie should be noping right out of that situation, right? Except she didn't. She engaged with it and carried on as normal. And that's because, case presa, Jackie was actually Alec Benson Leary, the creator of Asperchew. Although Alec had zero intention of doing anything this hardcore trolly to Chris, he became so enraged by their chats and how hypocritical Chris was and had zero desire to do better or be better, he decided to hop on the sweetheart trolling bus himself. So on day 3, that very day, Jackie and Chris graduate to calling one another sweetie. They make plans to hang out the following Friday, and Chris tells her basically his entire life history with trolls, Sonichu, and sends her links to the YouTube channels. On April 11th, Chris actually stopped at the Game Place, the gaming store that he was banned from. If you recall, he verbally attacked a black child and overall just repeatedly caused chaos there all the time. Not to mention stalking Megan, and that was the avenue that he used to be handsy and stalk Megan. Well, Chris walked in the door and an employee immediately recognized him and threatened to call the police if he did not leave. So Chris ran out of the store. But that didn't stop him from returning the very next day, knowing that Michael Snyder, the owner, would be present. Chris brought his digital camera with him and then tried to record the entire interaction. Chris and Michael got into an argument and Michael ended up calling the police, and Chris yet again fled the store. And Chris uploaded the audio of all of this to YouTube. Chris tried to rally his fans, telling them all to call the game place and ask Michael if he wants to play a game of Kick the Autistic. That did not happen. Unfortunately, Chris is not Braveheart, and his rallying cry did not work. By day 10 of Jackie and Chris conversing, they begin to speak a lot about sex. Jackie asks Chris about his oral skills and the techniques that he would use to please her orally. And Chris gave her an answer that involved an ice cream cone. I'm going to spare you the details. You're welcome. But finally, a real-life date was scheduled for April 16th, and they had known each other at that point for 11 days, and they were already saying, I love you. The date isn't successful, and both Jackie and Chris say that they waited at the real location but couldn't find the other one. And Chris knew that something was sus about that, but he chose to ignore it. I mean, it was clear that he was set up, but he quickly forgave her because she re-engaged in the sex talk. Also at this time, Chris uploads the infamous video called For Jackie's Eyes Only. He's wearing a t-shirt with cut-off sleeves that says, Mount and Do Me. Get it? But you see, Jackie had read the quickie and expressed concern to Chris over how he had treated his past sweethearts. Chris gave a brief explanation in the video as well as an apology for his previous behaviors and wanted to show her just how he would orally please her. And what transpires in this video is Chris holding up his hands while looking like a blind cat in the middle of an epileptic fit trying to lap at a bowl of milk. And at one point, he calls her Ivy. He literally called her Ivy, another sweetheart. And the video ends by him telling her that he has a belly and man boobs and takes off his shirt to reveal the sports bra he's wearing underneath. The sports bra had clearly, at this point, become a full-time thing, and you can kind of see his demeanor even change a little bit when he exposes it and shows it off. Now, I'm so sorry, y'all, but sometimes if I have to see something, the least y'all can do is hear it. I'm kidding. I love you. Don't hurt me.
I'm sorry. I did not mean to lie to you. I swear. I just forgot that one detail. Anyway, as for that, the quote-unquote Vanessa Hudgens, was actually in reality this Spanish dude I know, Joshua Martinez. Yeah, he was pretending to be Vanessa that whole time, and it ticks me off, that guy. Nurse, that's another story for another day, though. Anyway, with that put aside, I'm gonna show you some ways on how I can pleasure you orally. Okay? I got a few ideas. Like, I would definitely give you some finger play, lots of fingers. But yeah, I could be like. I lick your pretty little click there. Tickle your pussy. Oh, and here's the fun part. I can roll my tongue. I put it in there and extend it while it's in there. Can you imagine that? I got other ideas as well, but I just can't think of them right now. But hopefully that's not good enough for starters and to make up for that. And yeah, I have been under confusion for a little while, but seriously, Ivy, I really do want you. I want you. And I do love you, and I care about you. And I pray that this video does not fall into the hands of the trolls. And also, another thing to make up for this, I'll review another thing about myself. I actually do have a bit of a belly, but also with that, man boobs. I'm telling you this in strictest confidence that you will not laugh at me. But when I walk, they do bounce, so I have to. So I wear a sports bra. Works very good. Keeps them from bouncing. I'm a 42 bust. Alright, well, hopefully we can move on and resume our relationship with emotions, or otherwise restart it. I love you, Jackie. Love you. Talk to you later.
I'm sorry. Again, my sincerest apologies. But I do have something that may make you smile, and it's so sweet. So Jacqueline and Chris start to talk a lot in AIM. Remember AOL Instant Messenger? God, I rock that shit. So Jacqueline and Chris have a conversation. And again, this is post Jackie reading in the quickie. So she says, what is this dirty crapped briefs thing that I've read about on the quickie? And Chris says, oh, in the past, I've literally crapped my underpants. For years now, that has happened a lot less. How often does it happen now? Mostly it happens from stress, not often. Jackie questions, like, how often? When was the most recent time? I won't judge you. I just like to know. Don't feel embarrassed. I had a cousin who had a similar problem. Chris, it depends on A, knowing it's going to happen beforehand with the common signs. B, if I can make it to the bathroom in time. C, it may happen without me knowing it, painless. And D, a mistaken fart that turned out to be a crap. Actually, for the most recent time, and when you brought it up, it's like our minds are synced. Jackie, oh, what do you mean? When was it? Chris says, you brought it up a few minutes ago in the question. I'm sitting in a dirty pair right now. Jackie, you did it just this conversation? You just did it this conversation? I must be psychic or something. What triggered it? Chris, like 5 minutes ago, I think. It happened painlessly and I did not notice until I resituated myself in my seat. Probably stress from an earlier topic. Jackie, how often when you change your underwear are they dirty as such? Chris, let's just say you and I have some sort of psychic link. As you recall, there have been a few moments where that has happened between us. Jackie, oh, that's romantic. Chris, dirty, yes, but sometimes it may actually be just the poo in my butt and it hadn't touched my underpants. At those times, they're stainless. Again, sometimes it may be actually be just having the poo in my butt and it hadn't touched my underpants. At those times, they're stainless. So Jackie saw the For Your Eyes Jackie video and she was very upset about it. She basically goes off the handle, telling Chris he can't even keep his girl's name straight, asks about his income, why he still lives with his parents at almost 30 years old. And instead of answering any of these questions, Chris's response is, this isn't working out. I'm obviously not good enough for you. I wish you the best because we need to go our separate ways. And Jackie responds with more truth bombs, telling Chris that he's only parting ways with her because he knows that she won't like the honest answers to his questions. She says that he never really loved her. And Chris admits, no, I never really loved you. So Jackie then tells Chris that she uploaded the video. Jackie repeatedly tells him that he cares more about video games than her. And Chris says, you do not know me, woman. I love women over video games. I cannot help my social problems for my autism, or that I am one who misinterprets social cues, am sometimes unable to predict or understand the outcoming emotions or reactions to my actions. I can't help my own mental problems that sometimes misguide me. Ugh, just send your complaints to the letters to the editor section. And this is just one of many examples of Chris using autism as an excuse for his shitty, lazy behaviors. He wanted quick and easy sex, and Jackie, albeit a troll, asked him to do a kind gesture for her, just be a gentleman, and he refused and made it constantly about sex. Granted, Jackie did bring up sex a lot as well, but she did ask Chris to do some sweet things, and he did in fact refuse. So after a final argument, Jackie uploaded copies of all emails as well as the gross video to her onto the quickie for everyone to see. She would then go into stasis for the next 3 months. And Chris doesn't mention Jackie, but he does upload an almost 9-minute video about how people need to understand people with autism. Mostly, he's reading off symptoms from Wikipedia and Autism Speaks. And in this video, he's wearing nothing, and I mean nothing, but a sports bra. Here's the end of the clip where he discusses his bra.
As you may have noticed, I am standing here today topless, as you might say. I do this in defense and in protest because every time I see a male individual who goes around, runs around, or exercises shirtless, it is very offensive to me, and I do not appreciate that. And I'm sure that it is offensive to a lot of other people as well. As a matter of fact, if I could, I would say that I would make a law that would require all male individuals to wear a sports bra, while they are out exercising or working if they insist on being shirtless. Come on, dudes, get with the program. Nobody wants to see these nips, and things are better left a mystery. I leave you all with that, and you have yourselves a pleasant, safe day.
In early May, Chris wins 4 tickets from a local radio station to an extreme sports motorcycle show at the arena. He couldn't find anyone to go with, so he kept one and just scalped the rest of them. And he supposedly sat by and watched a couple that was super affectionate and doing a lot of PDA. And that apparently broke him. It devastated him. So, of course, he went home and uploaded a very depressing video. And it's unhinged. He blames his entire life on the Greene County School Board for ruining his life. And I'm actually going to read some of the transcript of this one instead of making you listen to the whole thing because it's so fucking depressing. But in the video, Chris is sitting almost in the dark. There's a tiny, tiny, tiny little light source. And he talks about how the Greene County School District is the one that ruined his life. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to read it. But just if you guys recall, Chris was nonverbal when he was a kid. They started out in the Greene County School District. And they tested Chris, and they realized very quickly, the school district did, that Chris needed special education. He needed additional help. He could not be in regular classes. They tried to mandate it, that Chris, get into counseling and and get help for his disabilities. And Bob Chandler, being the wonderfully supportive father that he was, like, fuck this. And he moved them to a different county with different education standards to get Chris out of that. So completely did Chris a disservice. Chris claims that they tried to institutionalize him for being autistic and that his father said that it was partially the gays, that it was the school board and the gays. He even says that the Greene County School Board must have bribed Michael Snyder, the manager of the game place, because that's why he keeps getting banned, that they must be bribing him to ban them. Otherwise, May is relatively quiet until the end of the month, where Chris threatens to abandon the quickie and claims that he's leaving the internet again. Except shit is about to go super south. On June 4th, Chris walked to a local bar and had a drink. He then went over to the game place, got out of his car, and started trying to take pictures of Michael Snyder and his daughter. He then drove over to the game place, got out of his car, and was waiting there trying to take pictures of Michael Snyder and his daughter who was in the store. Michael saw this and immediately called the police. He, along with a couple other customers, went outside to confront Chris directly. Chris, seeing the people coming towards him, fled back to his car, turned it on, and then almost hit Michael twice as he was trying to escape the parking lot. Michael was trying to block Chris in, kind of waiting for the cops to come. They were already in the parking lot. He was trying to prevent Chris from leaving. The police showed up and interviewed everyone separately. Did they take Chris Chan in for stalking or maybe attempted vehicular homicide or reckless driving? No. They just had him delete the pictures that he had taken on his camera and sent him off with a warning. Mind you, he was trying to get pictures of a minor as well as the minor's father, Michael Snyder. This is, up to this point, one of the most serious things that Chris Chan has done. He put someone else's life and safety in danger and displayed dangerous stalking behavior. So far in the series, I've given you a background of the psychological abuse and torture that Chris has endured at the hands of trolls so far. I've discussed and read transcripts of emails, played audio clips, showing how he became hypersexualized and super inappropriate and predatory, maybe even downright dangerous to women. This event, also known as the Charlottesville incident in Christory, may be the first time that Chris was involved in an act of violence, whether intentional or not, we don't know, but it's far from the last. And this is why so many people are really floored that Chris has been released from jail and that the charges against him have been dropped. Chris will go on to be arrested in a future episode. Barb, too, for that matter. Chris will go on to commit acts of violence. And Chris is always let off the hook. For as much as Chris uses his autism as a crutch and excuse for his behavior, it's also been his lifeline out of the legal system and the justice system. Law enforcement officers and judges chalking his behavior up to creepy special needs autistic dude rather than someone who is predatory and can hurt another person. All of these warnings and second chances that Chris is eventually given, none of those did him any favor. So naturally, after his experience at the game place, Chris uploaded a video to YouTube. He opened the video by letting everyone know that he didn't molest his cats. He says, "Hey, I don't piddle my cats. I only touch them on their back where they're supposed to be touched." It's the most random, shocking way to intro a video that I've ever seen. Chris claimed that he was there in the parking lot to take pictures of Michael alone, that he's no pedophile, so that he could make a dartboard out of it and throw darts at it. Then he says that he's leaving the internet for the 5th time. Except he didn't. Within a couple days, trolls quickly located him on the Nintendo DS app Flipnote, an app for children to upload the art that they make on their DS. Again, it's a family-friendly app. Many thousands of children on there. And Chris began to upload Sonichu content there. And all of Chris's submissions were very sexual in nature. Censored penis, a vagina, nipples, and implied sex. One of his drawings was apparently a representation of a wet dream that he had had. Again, Chris was basically uploading lightly censored porn, drawn porn, to a children's app. So Jackie emailed Chris on July 1st and asked him to give her a shout out on Flipnote. And that's, again, 3 months later, Jackie comes out of nowhere and is like, "I know you're on Flipnote. Can you give me a shout out there?" And that's when they pick up their relationship again. They start to plan another date, but then Jackie stands him up. Also at this time, Chris is hanging at 5 After 5, a summer concert series there in Charlottesville. Locals privy to who Chris Chan is, they take a bunch of pictures and video of him at this concert series. One of the times that he went in July, he was wearing a sports bra that said "Want Woman." On another time he went, he wrote on the sports bra, "I love vagina." And he wore these to family concerts with children everywhere. So his love quest, he was focusing his love quest more locally at home at this time. Also, locals report that he was taking pictures of random girls, including underage girls, without their knowledge or permission. So when the app Flip banned him permanently, Chris actually spent his money, went out, bought another Nintendo DS, just so he could get around the username ban and continue posting. He immediately broke so many rules that he was permabanned on the second account, and thankfully, he didn't make any additional efforts. By the end of July, Chris admitted to Jackie that he had attempted to become a male escort. He created a profile on escort.com under the name Carlos Chantor. His profile read, "Experienced for her pleasure. Hey ladies, I'm a cool dude to hang with and I can make you feel good emotionally and show you a fun time. I enjoy a lot of things. I'll let you know when it's going too far. Give me a call to hook up. 434 area code only." His details gave his age, 28, straight male, Caucasian, average body type, brown hair, blue eyes, does not smoke. Availability, he is available as an accommodating male, a master slave, model, masseuse, stripper dancer, escort, available for out-call or in-call, and independent management. It did not take long for trolls to unearth his escort.com profile somehow, and they start to call his house and ask for Carlos Chantor. One time they asked if he was into water sports, and Chris said, "I may be," and that was it. I haven't seen or found any additional communication or instances of people talking about his escort.com profile. He took it down pretty much immediately after that phone call because he gave his home phone number for the potential clients. On August 10th, Alec Benson Leary called Chris's house pretending to be an employee of the game place, and he spoke with Chris's dad, Bob. He asked him about Chris harassing the game place and mentioned the car event back in June where he was taking pictures, trespassing, harassing Mike Snyder. And it became clear that Chris had not told his parents that he was almost arrested. And I'm going to play a couple minutes of that clip now.
Hello?
Hello, is this Robert Chandler?
Yes.
Hello?
Who is this?
Oh, hi, Mr. Chandler. Hi, my name is Matthew Nobles. I think you just tried to call me back. I left you a message.
Yes. What's your problem?
Well, I wanted to talk to you about something. I'm an employee at the game place. I apologize for calling you so long after the incident occurred, but given your son's continued harassment of our store, I felt we needed to speak to you.
The game place now?
The game place?
This place downtown, by the Omni?
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
what's the problem?
Well, I'm sure you're aware of the little incident your son, Christian, had when he came to our store early in June.
I didn't know he'd
when
been
he
in
attempted
your
to
store early in June. I knew he...
Oh, you were unaware?
I knew that he had a lot of problems with you people several years ago.
Well,
when you
what
basically
happened was...
kicked him out and everything else for no reason of his own. And his mother and everybody else. I don't really like your place. Now, I didn't know he'd been there in June. Now, tell me about this.
Well, basically what happened was he came in, he wanted to speak to our manager, Mike, about getting himself unbanned. Mike refused to speak with him about the matter.
That threw him out. Mike's been persecuting him for years, and I don't like Mike. I'd like to speak to the owner of the place. I think lives up the road from me, in Madison or somewhere. This whole thing was
sir, the point is
in the very beginning with my son. Now, I didn't like it then, and I still don't like it. Now, what happened in June?
Sir, well, after he left, when he couldn't get himself unbanned, he came back several days later and was taking pictures of people in the store.
Well, that's not illegal.
One of the patrons, some people felt that he was threatening them, to be honest. One woman said that he was taking pictures of her son. I don't know if that's true or not, but Mike was there and he became angry and called the police because your son was trespassing.
Well, he hadn't told him he didn't come in there. It's a business place. Now, Mike and Megan are the ones that conspired together with a couple of other people, kids there, I think were gay, to persecute and torment Christian for years. Okay, I don't like Mike. I'd like to talk to the owner of the store. I could really feel him about the people he employs there.
First, poor Megan. Megan did absolutely nothing other than be a friend to Chris and be on the receiving end of the physical and sexual harassment that Chris doled out to her. Yet for whatever reason, Bob and Barb believe that Megan is in cahoots with the guys at the game place to troll Chris and ban him and keep him out. They believe that she's like masterminded this entire operation against their son. And it's in this phone call that you can really pick up on where Chris Chan gets some of his mannerisms, his phrasing, his opinions, racism, bigotry. Also at this time, Chris and Jackie are getting closer and they're starting to recommend movies to one another. Chris apparently really loved the Saw horror movie franchise. And Jackie, aka Alec Benson Leary, suggested a couple movies for him. One by the wonderfully flamboyantly gay John Waters. She recommended Pink Flamingos. And then she recommended Cannibal fucking Holocaust. And she recommended these movies in the middle of them having a conversation about anal sex, which makes it so much worse. And this is where we see kind of how far Chris has gone, or just how horribly he lacks social cues and social understanding and decorum. And ironically, Iris and I are actually going to be discussing Cannibal Holocaust and Green Inferno in the next episode here on We Saw the Devil, which is going to drop Wednesday. We're recording Tuesday night, and I'll have it out for Wednesday. But just so ironic that here we are. Chris Chan is art imitating life or life imitating art. Who knows? But for those of you who don't know, Cannibal Holocaust is considered one of the most controversial films ever made. In fact, that was its original tagline. It's an exploitation and gore film. And it's about a group of filmmakers who go missing in the Amazon rainforest and they don't come back and they disappear. So university gets an anthropologist and a team together and they send them on a rescue mission to find them. They come across a couple different tribes and basically the tribes show them the remains and they're like, yep, they died. And here's all their film reels, that they left behind and they're just chilling by their bones. Basically, the filmmakers raped and murdered a young girl from the tribe, took advantage of them, staged stuff for dramatic purposes, and actually ended up getting killed for it. In Cannibal Holocaust, 7 animals are actually slaughtered, like in real life. Everything from a monkey's beheaded, a pig is shot, a turtle, that's the hard one to watch, as a huge turtle is killed. It's really, really bad. And Chris watched this movie. Chris, the man who believes that cartoon characters are their own sentient beings, watched one of the earliest, most controversial and gory exploitation films. So Chris replied to Jackie and said, I watched Cannibal Holocaust the other day. It was okay, but seeing the tearing apart of a monkey skull, the whole big turtle, and even seeing the dude's dick get cut off really bothered me. But it's Hollywood magic. Fake dummies, motorized limbs, prop guts and all, so I get over the feeling with that perspective. I like the part where the professor lured out the woman of the tribe to play with him in the water, and I see the whole parody and comical portions of the movie. Jackie replied, well, actually, that scene with the professor taking the women into the water was a pretty disturbing and violent rape scene. I don't get why that was your favorite part. Also, all the animals that were killed in the movie were actually killed. There was no Hollywood magic about it. The makers of the film got sued by PETA over animal cruelty violations. And that's the absolute last, again, Cannibal Holocaust was the absolute last thing that Chris Chan needed exposure to, or just to be introduced to gore films in general. Chris referenced an obviously violent rape scene, a disturbing rape scene, as I like the part where the professor lured the woman out to play with him. He violently raped her. And again, Chris, for some reason, views rape, which any person in the world would be like, wow, that woman's not having a good time. This is sexual assault. He views it as fun, parody, comedy. And on that happy note, that's where we are going to stop for this episode. I think you guys have been exposed to enough for a single episode here. As I just said, Iris and I are going to be doing kind of a horror movie countdown for Halloween, talking about different things through a true crime lens. So say, for example, Cannibal Holocaust as a whole is a movie that actually has followed litigation because so many believed it actually to be a true snuff film when it came out. So we are going to be discussing Cannibal Holocaust and Green Inferno early next week. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, want to hear more, you can do so. Don't forget to check out the website at wesawthedevil.com. From there, you can find us across all social media, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as TikTok, where there are a couple videos now. Don't forget to follow us there. And yeah, that is it. Thanks for listening, y'all. Until next crime.